I have still standing by with me Judge Kimberly Bando. She is in Atlanta, Georgia. She's a magistrate court judge and also a criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and also have with us attorney John Mobley, who is joining us as well. Welcome to you, John. I want to maybe begin with you, if I may, please, since you're just joining us this hour. Tell me your thoughts on the way in which John Lewin is cross-examining Robert Durst. Certainly unconventional, to say the least.
To say the least, I mean, this prosecutor doesn't realize that he's just losing this battle with Durst. He sort of reminds me of the guy in the samurai movie that's cut in half, and he's the only one that doesn't know it. I mean, he's asking him details about things that happened 20 and 30 years ago, where Durst has the luxury of either saying, hey, I don't remember that, or he's asking open-ended questions, and Durst can just say, I don't agree. And he just kind of moves on to the next question. I mean, he's really giving him way too much wiggle room. I agree, he's not leading, asking leading questions. He's not controlling the facts or the pace. It's really giving Durst an opportunity to show that he's smarter than him, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. And John, you practice criminal defense, as does Judge Kimberly, and you both know that when you do that kind of work, you get a lot of practice at cross-examination, right? Maybe more practice on cross than you do on direct, and it's a time to be the star. And we know prosecutors, when you're in there, you get a lot of experience with it all, because you have a stack of cases, and John Lewin's certainly very seasoned. I'm sure he knows how to do a typical recommended cross-examination where you're leading with every question, but yet he's choosing not to.
He's
Kimberly,
not doing it at all.
Yeah, no, I know, John. It's no wonder it's going to go into next week, right? I mean, goodness gracious.
Well, I think this current trend by prosecutors to decide which cases to prosecute based on Netflix documentaries is just ill-advised. I mean, these are things that happened, 15 and 20 years ago that were never really properly investigated by law enforcement, and based on things that come out in the documentary that's done primarily for entertainment value and where the rules of evidence don't apply, to decide to prosecute a case based on that, they just back themselves in a corner.
Mm-hmm. Right. I want to play a clip for you both and get your reactions on the other side of it. If for any viewers just tuning in, we had some, what do I want to say, maybe splitting hairs when it came to the severity of the perjury that Robert Durst was committing. He admits to committing perjury, but characterizes it as very, very, very minor. John Lewin says, what is that, opposed to big, giant perjury? Take a look. Okay, so Robert Durst thinks it's bad either way. Let me see what my guests think. Still with me, criminal defense attorney John Mobley and magistrate court judge Kimberly Bando. Okay, John, to you first. What do you think? Do you think Robert Durst is really getting his point across here? Or do you think this is something he really shouldn't be fighting with John Lewin on?
Well, I think the whole problem is, it's the prosecutor is handling the dig note the same way he's handling the entire cross-examination. He's playing chess and Durst is playing, he's playing checkers and Durst is playing chess, with the answers. Durst is not going to give him what he wants. Durst is not going to admit that it was an incriminating note and agree to all of his inferences. It's just not going to happen. And he's not realizing that. And he's having these little back and forth arguments with this old man about things that were written down and how things can be interpreted from a note, from a note from 20 years ago. And he's just going to lose that battle every single time with this guy. Well, I think the bigger concern I have is where the prosecutor is going with these questions. Typically, I like to think a prosecution on cross-examination wants to be able to advance some theory, the facts that are consistent with the guilt of the accused. But it seems like this prosecutor is just intent on finding details and inconsistencies over 20 or 30 years that he can use to argue with Durst. And I did a significant difference. She either had ovarian cancer and died from that or died from the gunshot wound. But ultimately, I'm not really understanding what is the point he's trying to make. Is his point that Durst is lying about that? And of course, why would he lie about that? I don't see the significance or the advantage that the woman's dead. But so that's the bigger thing that I'm really trying to understand. I think he needs to be really making sure that his points that he's trying to make can be followed by the jury. Because if I can't follow his points and see where he's going, I don't think the jury can either.